How's it going, everyone? It is me, Lone Vault Wanderer, and I'm here to talk about Bioshock 3. Now, before I get started with the topic of this video, I want to address something. If the next Bioshock continues the same number sequence of previous Bioshock games, then the next one would be called Bioshock 3. Bioshock Infinite was not called Bioshock 3, okay? We don't call Fallout 4 Fallout 5 because there was Fallout New Vegas. It was Bioshock 1, 2, Infinite, okay? So the next one isn't Bioshock 4. We don't skip 3. 3 is a lovely number. So let's keep it in there with the next one, alright? I just wanted to cover that. That's just something that's been getting me angry. The next Bioshock would be called Bioshock 3 if it continues the same number sequence, okay? Alright. Anyways, the reason why I wanted to talk about Bioshock 3 is because every single time I make a video on Bioshock, there's always discussion in the comments, and I encourage this, by the way, I really do. There's always discussion about whether there should even be another Bioshock game in the first place. And for a while, I don't think I ever, agreed 100% with this argument, but I saw the logic in it. So essentially, people saying, look, Ken Levine created Bioshock. He created Bioshock 1, developed Bioshock Infinite, and he didn't really touch 2. Although, the way he created 1 and Infinite, and in particular, those DLC for Infinite, Burial at Sea, he just created this amazing story, wrapped it in a nice little bow, and gave it as a present back to the fans and said, this is Bioshock, leave me alone, I'm not touching it anymore, okay? He created this trilogy. Again, he didn't develop Bioshock 2, but it's the same franchise. He created this trilogy that we all know and love, for the most part. We have our favorite Bioshock games, we have our not so favorite Bioshock games. But for the most part, all of those games have been received well by critics and fans. And people have been making the argument, because Ken Levine did that, and because Bioshock is essentially his baby, 2K shouldn't mess with that. 2K or Take-Two, whoever, shouldn't have another new Bioshock game released that essentially tampers what Ken Levine did with Bioshock in the past. And to an extent, I can understand where people are coming from when they make that argument, but I want to make this video to express my views on that particular point. Because this is coming from someone that does love Bioshock, okay? I love every single damn Bioshock game out there, and I'm probably one of the biggest Bioshock marks on the internet that you'll find. And I do think that Bioshocks 1, 2, and Infinite are amazing games, and taken together, they are a beautiful, beautiful story. And Ken Levine did great things with Bioshock, and in a sense, I don't want his legacy, I guess, to be ruined or anything. But I do not think, with that being said, that 2K releasing a new Bioshock game will ruin Bioshock's legacy, or will ruin Ken Levine's legacy with regards to Bioshock. And I don't think that any new Bioshock game that comes out, whether it's bad, subpar, or average, or whatever it is, I don't think that that should affect anyone's enjoyment of the Bioshock franchise and of previous Bioshock games. Let's say, for argument's sake, that the next Bioshock game is a bad game. Does that ruin the franchise for you? Does that ruin the enjoyment that you've already had over many hours and many years of the past Bioshock games? We've had those games, they're essentially done and dusted, and we've had our enjoyments with it. We've enjoyed the story, we've enjoyed the playthrough, we reminisce, we talk with friends and other people on the internet about it. We've had our time with Bioshock. We've really, really enjoyed these games. So why should a future Bioshock game suddenly affect those memories? Why would that be the case? Because even if the next Bioshock game was the biggest piece of shit that I've ever played, I'm not going to suddenly say, well, now Bioshock is ruined for me. You know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't happen for me. I can see why maybe it would happen for other people, but I'd still have my fond memories of Bioshocks 1, 2, and Infinite. And at the end of the day, I just think that that kind of mentality unnecessarily prevents us from having another Bioshock game. Because I still think that this franchise has some legs to it. I still think that this franchise has room to breathe. I've mentioned this in the past. If Bioshock Infinite taught us anything about the Bioshock franchise, it's that it is very, very flexible. You can go from an underwater setting like Rapture to an in the clouds air setting like Columbia with a completely different feel, completely different setting, completely different just tone to it, and have it still be a Bioshock game that's great. And we can still have that, I believe, with another Bioshock, with a new studio, with a new setting, with a new set of characters, etc. Just like Bioshock Infinite. Now, of course, the difference being that we don't have Irrational Games anymore, and we don't have Ken Levine anymore. But I've made a video about this where I said that the next development studio that's very likely to make the next Bioshock game is Hangar 13. And it's not confirmed, it's not official, that's just my educated guess. And a lot of the developers that moved on from 2K Australia and 2K Marin that worked on Bioshock 2, and also as well from Irrational Games that worked on Bioshock Infinite and Bioshock 1, a lot of those developers have actually moved on to Hangar 13. So that studio, out of any other development studio in the world, has the most developers that have ever worked on a Bioshock game ever in this one centralized studio. So if there was ever any studio that could possibly pull off a good Bioshock 3 game, it would be them. And I know that Mafia 3 was an average game. Some people really liked it, some people didn't. It was a polarizing game, let's just say that. At the very least, Hangar 13 has a chance to make a good Bioshock game. It might not be as good as what Ken Levine did. And to be honest, I think that's what held Bioshock 2 back. Right, even though I love that game. I think why Bioshock 2 is kind of the forgotten stepchild of the Bioshock franchise is because it wasn't created by Irrational Games or Ken Levine. And the next Bioshock game, Bioshock 3, has that same risk because Ken Levine isn't involved in Bioshock anymore. He's never making any more Bioshock games. It has to be a new studio. But just because there's a chance that this new Bioshock game could be bad, I don't think that's a good enough reason to say, well, we should never have any more Bioshock games ever. Let those past games be, let the franchise be. I don't agree with that because that would just preclude us from having another Bioshock game, which as fans, really we should want. We should want this franchise to continue and to become more popular and for more people to see it. I know sometimes people like having their cult classic games and keeping their memories of that game and not having them tampered in any way. But in my opinion, I don't want that. I will always enjoy the 3 original Bioshock games. They will always have a strong place in my heart. But just because that's the case, I do not want to preclude or argue against 2K in trying to create another Bioshock game. Because it's going to generate hype, it's going to generate excitement, and also as well, we have the potential to have another great suite of Bioshock games with the same feeling and the same theme. And above all, that's what I want. I want everyone to know about Bioshock. I want new games to come out that pushes this franchise above and beyond. I don't just want it to fade in everyone's memories. Why do we want that? Why do we want the original Bioshock games to just sit in limbo forever and nothing to ever happen with the franchise ever again? I just can't stand that rationale. I really can't. But of course, my videos are a two-way street. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you disagree with me, please let me know. I'm happy to converse with you in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.